Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video, going to do a head-to-head with the Oban 18-year-old Single Malt Scotch Whisky and the Talisker 18-year-old Single Malt Scotch Whisky. Now, I think this is a really good head-to-head for several reasons. The Oban 18-year-old Single Malt Scotch Whisky is made from barley peated at 10 ppm, aged in ex-bourbon cask, bottled at 43% alcohol by volume, and sells for about $150 in my neighborhood. The Talisker 18-year-old was made from barley that was peated at 22 ppm, aged in ex-bourbon cask, bottled at 45.8% alcohol by volume, and sells for about $170. So obviously both 18-year-old, both bourbon casks, and both are single malts that are peated, and yet they're not Islay whiskeys nor Orkney, say like Highland Park. I did a whole long series on Highland peated whiskeys. Took me about 3 months to get through them. I have about 30 bottles. So these are peated whiskeys that are West Coast. So very different and sort of outside of what we typically think of when we think of peated whiskey. So good head-to-head between two distilleries. Also, of course, ppms, if you could start at, these could both start at, say, 55 ppm, but by the time you've done the fermentation, most of the peat character sticks to the husk, which you lose. So after the mash is done, then you do the fermentation, you lose some there. And of course, distillation, how you do your distillation. And then of course, your cuts at the spirit bank, you lose some there. And then of course, in aging, you lose some ppms there. So ultimately what matters is not what the barley started at, but what they finished at. So you could actually have a barley that was peated higher than this one, but because of the way you did fermentation, the way you did distillation, the way you did the cuts, and the aging, they could switch in terms of the end impact of the peat. But Talisker and Oban are both distilleries that aren't heavily peated whiskeys. I would say low to moderate, and they have a particular character that is unique to these two distilleries. Also, both of these distilleries are owned by Diageo. So in a sense, in terms of the larger family, it's a Diageo versus a Diageo. Now, color-wise, the color on these is a lot darker than I would normally expect from something that's supposed to be 100% bourbon cask. So I'll put them up here like this, but I'll add another picture because sometimes this camera angle won't pick it up. Both of these are sort of a golden copper color, fairly clear. Talisker has this typical peppery note. It is subtle at 18 years old. The 10-year-old has more pepper to it than the 18-year-old. And if you could get even an older Talisker, that pepper character in the peat is probably going to continue to diminish with age. But it is definitely there. The nose is tropical, pineapple, apple, a little bit of orange. Just a hint or just a waft of smoke with a little bit of pepperiness. The Oban, it's a little organic on the peat. Sometimes peat can give you if you ever, asparagus, you ever burn asparagus? It's not that strong, it's not that bad. Or just some sort of green vegetable, just kind of a singe to a green vegetable. It's like that. A little ashiness, a little pear, a little apple, but the smoke character seems much more integrated into those traits, whereas the Talisker, it's like you're getting tropical fruit and then this little boop of peat smoke and just a little bit of pepper on the end. So you actually have a nice development on the nose with first fruit, and then the peat character, particularly pepper, shows up on the end. Whereas the Oban, it's all intermingled with the fruit character. A little bit of honey. I would say a little bit of honey on the Talisker as well. On the palate, I'm going to start with the Talisker since I already know that it doesn't have that intense of a smoke character in comparison with the Oban. Also, just as when I do normal reviews, I've gotten past the neck pour, so I already know what to expect when I'm recording the video. When I do head-to-head videos, I've already tried the head-to-head off-screen, off camera, so I know what to expect when I come up here. Besides, I mean, look at these bottles. 2/3 gone already. I love this Talisker 18-year-old. It feels a little thin, but it's silky. I would not guess that it's 45.8. It's pretty close to 46. I would guess if I was doing blind that it was actually 43. Silky across the palate. The smoke character sort of is underneath the fruit, so as if the fruit is traveling on top of the smoke character. It's very subtle, just sort of a waft, and then just as on the nose, just that little waft, just a little bit of pepper chips on the tail, on the back end, the back of the throat, on the finish, on the swallow, however you want to refer to it. The fact that it's fruit up front, it's almost like peaches and canned pears, a little bit of orange, but more tropical, but definitely canned pineapple, and then with an underlying coat of smoke, and then a little pepper on the finish. The Oban. I gotta say, I wasn't all that impressed with the Oban 18-year-old when I first reviewed it. This is a whiskey that takes a lot more time to really open up. And I have another bottle of it that I accidentally bought. You buy a bottle and you forget that you already have one on your shelf. You haven't gotten around to it, so then you see one, you go, oh, I'm going to buy one of those. And then you get home, you already have one behind the other bottles on the shelf. Maybe you don't have that problem, but as you can tell, I got problems here. So the smoke is nicer on the palate than it is on the nose. I'm just getting this kind of weird green burnt vegetal note. Apple, pear, a little bit of citrus, vanilla, hints of caramel and toffee, and smoke is pretty much integrated all the way through it. It has a moderate length finish. I like the transition of the Talisker better. I like that there's something different in the front and the middle into the finish. The Oban is pretty much the same in the front and the middle into the finish. The Talisker has a nicer finish. I think the Talisker 18 is a more elegant whiskey. The Oban 18 is a little bit more earthy, a little bit more vegetal, a little bit more rustic, if you want to use that term. But they're both really, really nice. I like the Oban 18. I like it more now than I did before. That's just a hint of that weird vegetal note. I don't remember getting that before. That may be something that has developed with aeration. I don't recall getting anything like that. But it is a strange peat character to it. And there's some, you can get that from Lafroig sometimes. There are some Islay peated whiskeys you can kind of get that character too. But I've never picked it up in an Oban 18-year-old. So I'd say overall, these are very, very, very nice whiskeys. The Talisker 18, I would probably go 90 to 91. The Oban 18 doesn't have enough transition. That weird green vegetal note, I'm not real loving that one. It's still a really nice whiskey. I'm going to go like 88 points, so up there. But it doesn't have a long enough finish. It doesn't have enough complexity and changes in the development of it to get me any higher than that. And some are probably going to say I'm actually being overly generous with 88 points. I'm not going to argue with you. I could see myself, going 87, 86. But in some ways, it has improved since I originally opened it. But it's also kind of taken a weird turn with that little vegetal note that I'm not loving it. But still, it's a nice dram. So, Talisker 18 is the winner. However, the prices on these bottles have gotten ridiculous. And I know that's going to be the number one complaint that everybody's going to make in the comment section. These used to be a lot cheaper, particularly the Talisker 18 is just skyrocketed, but it's still a really nice whiskey. If you can get the Talisker 18 for under 125 bucks, then I'm going to say it's worth it. Anything more than 120, 125 bucks, I'm going to say there's a lot of other whiskeys out there, peated whiskeys, that I would buy before getting this one. But it's a very unique and particular character to Talisker that I like. If I just want something that's peaty and a peat bomb, shoot, there's a lot of whiskeys under 75 bucks from Isla that I can get. You know, the Ardbeg 10, you know. 18-year-olds, are you paying a lot more money just to get the number for the number on the label? Sometimes it's the number that's selling. That's what's calling the big price, is the number on the label, rather than necessarily the quality of the whiskeys. But I'm going to still say Talisker 18, it's a really nice whiskey. That's about it for this video. They used to do a bottle, and I have like a half bottle, the 57 North. If anybody at Talisker, whatever, if you can bring that whiskey back, I would greatly appreciate it. That was a superb whiskey. Unfortunately, that one's gone away, but still, that's it for this review. If you subscribe to this channel, thank you very much. If you've not yet subscribed, you like watching my videos, you listen to me ramble about whiskey and go on and on and on and on, because we used to tie an onion around our belt, because that was the style in those days. And when you're 57 years old and you've been at work all day and you come home to do whiskey reviews, and sometimes your brain just starts to lose it. That's what happens when you get old. All right, see you next time. Sandra. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.